Los Angeles, 1984. The Tonight Show, live broadcast, 20 million people watching. Michael Jackson walked onto the stage to promote Thriller. The host, a famous TV personality, looked at him and said two words that would end his career. "Come here, boy." What happened next didn't just get him fired. It changed how America talked on television forever. If you want to discover the untold stories of how Michael Jackson fought racism even on live TV, hit subscribe. Because what Michael said in that moment left an entire studio in silence and a host begging for forgiveness. March 1984. Michael Jackson was the biggest star on the planet. Thriller had sold over 30 million copies. Every TV show wanted him. The Tonight Show booked him for a live interview. Prime time, Friday night. 20 million viewers expected. Michael arrived at the studio at 6 p.m. Hair and makeup, sound check. He was nervous. He always was before live TV. But he trusted the show, trusted the host. Richard Sterling had been doing The Tonight Show for 15 years. America's favorite host. Charming, quick-witted. But behind the charm was something Michael didn't know about. Something that would reveal itself in front of 20 million people. The show started at 8 p.m. Richard's opening monologue went well. First guest, second guest. Then at 8:45 p.m., the moment everyone was waiting for. "And now," Richard said, smiling at the camera, "the king of pop himself, Michael Jackson." The audience erupted. Michael walked out. Sequined jacket, signature glove. He waved, shy smile, sat down on the couch. The applause continued for nearly a minute. "Michael," Richard said, leaning back in his chair. "Great to have you here." "Thank you for having me," Michael said quietly. His voice was soft, almost childlike. Some in the audience had never heard him speak before. "So Thriller," Richard continued. "Biggest album in history. How does that feel?" "It's overwhelming," Michael said honestly. "I'm grateful, every day." The interview continued. Normal questions, album sales, music videos, the moonwalk. But Michael noticed something. Richard's tone. There was an edge to it, a condescension, like he was talking to someone beneath him. Then it happened. Michael was answering a question about his childhood, about performing with his brothers, about the Jackson 5, and Richard interrupted him. "Come here, boy." The studio went silent. Michael stopped mid-sentence, looked at Richard. "Come here, boy," Richard repeated, gesturing to the space next to his desk. "I want to show the audience something." Michael didn't move. The audience didn't know how to react. Some laughed nervously, others looked confused. The cameramen exchanged glances. Richard seemed oblivious, still smiling, still gesturing. The word hung in the air. Boy. Not Michael, not Mr. Jackson. Boy. Michael's face remained calm, but his eyes changed. Anyone who knew him saw it. The hurt, the anger, the decision being made in real time. "I'm sitting here," Michael said quietly. His voice was still soft, but there was steel in it now. "Oh, come on," Richard said, laughing. "Don't be shy. Come here." "I'm not shy," Michael said, "and I'm not a boy." The smile on Richard's face faltered. "What?" "My name is Michael," Michael said, his voice gaining strength. "Or Mr. Jackson, if you prefer. But I'm not a boy. I'm a 25-year-old man." The studio was completely silent now. 20 million people watching. Richard tried to laugh it off. "Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I was just—" "Then how did you mean it?" Michael asked. His tone was calm, curious, not angry. Just asking. The audience held its breath. Richard shifted in his seat. I was being casual. You call your other guests boy, Michael asked. Richard's mouth opened, closed. No, he admitted. Then why me? Michael asked. And the question hung there, on live television. 20 million witnesses. Richard's face went red. He looked at the audience, at the cameras, at his producers in the booth. They were frozen. Nobody knew what to do. This wasn't in the script. This was live. This was real. And this was about to get worse. Michael, Richard said, trying to recover. I think you're overreacting. Am I? Michael asked. He leaned forward. Let me tell you what that word means to me, Richard. The studio was silent. Crew members stopped moving. The word boy has been used for centuries to diminish black men, Michael said. His voice was gentle, educational, not accusatory. It was used by slave owners, by segregationists, by people who wanted to remind us that no matter our age, our accomplishments, our dignity, we were less than human. Richard's face had gone from red to pale. I didn't. That's the thing, Michael interrupted softly. You didn't think. You didn't have to think. Because you've never had that word used against you. You've never had to wonder if someone is calling you boy. Because they see you as a child, or because they see you as black. The audience was completely still. Some people were crying. You're a smart man, Richard, Michael continued. You've interviewed presidents, artists, legends. You would never call Frank Sinatra boy. You would never call John Wayne boy. So why me? Because somewhere in your mind, whether you realize it or not, you see me differently. And I need you to understand how that feels. Richard's hands were shaking. I'm sorry, he whispered. But Michael wasn't done. On this stage right now 20 million people are watching, Michael said, and half of them are learning from this moment. Some are learning that it's okay to speak up when you're disrespected. Some are learning that words matter, and some, Michael looked directly at Richard, are learning that ignorance isn't an excuse. The camera was locked on Michael's face, calm, dignified, powerful. I forgive you, Richard, Michael said, because I believe you didn't understand what you were doing. But you understand now, and what you do with that understanding will define whether you grow from this moment or retreat from it. The studio erupted in applause, not the polite applause of a talk show, the kind of applause that acknowledges something real just happened, something important. Richard sat there, stunned. The show went to commercial. During the break, producers swarmed. Richard's hands covered his face. Michael sat quietly, drinking water. When they came back from commercial, Richard was alone at his desk. Michael, he said, his voice thick, if you're still willing to sit with me, I'd be honored to continue this conversation. Michael walked back out, sat down. The audience applauded again. I want to apologize, Richard said. Not just to you, but to everyone watching. What I said was wrong. The excuse that I didn't mean it that way doesn't matter. Impact matters more than intent. And I hurt you. I disrespected you in front of millions of people. And I'm deeply sorry. Michael nodded. Thank you for hearing me. I hope, Richard continued, his voice breaking, that this can be a teaching moment. For me. For everyone watching. We all have biases we don't recognize, and it takes someone with your grace and courage to hold up that mirror. They continued the interview, but it was different now, real, honest. When Michael finally stood to leave, the studio gave him a standing ovation that lasted 5 minutes. Richard hugged him. whispered something in his ear. Michael nodded, walked off stage, and the moment that would define both their legacies was over. The show aired live, no editing. By next morning, every newspaper had the story. Michael Jackson confronts host over racial slur. Phone calls flooded the network. Advertisers, viewers. Some praised Richard's apology. More demanded consequences. By Monday, Richard Sterling was suspended. The network statement: "The language used does not reflect our values. We are conducting a review." Richard issued apologies, appeared on news programs, said he was raised in a different time, was learning, grateful to Michael for educating him. But advertisers pulled out. Ratings dropped. 3 weeks later, Richard Sterling announced his retirement. Not officially fired, but everyone knew. Michael never spoke publicly about that night. When asked, he'd only say, "I hope it helped people understand the power of words." People who worked with Richard said he was changed, spent the rest of his life working with civil rights organizations, trying to make amends. Before Richard died, he wrote Michael a letter. Michael never showed it. But a friend said Richard wrote, "You could have destroyed me that night, but you chose to teach me instead. You gave me the chance to become better. I spent every day since trying to deserve that grace." When Michael died in 2009, Richard released a statement. "The world lost a giant, but I lost a teacher. Michael showed me that responding to ignorance with dignity is more powerful than anger. He changed my life." The clip is still played in journalism schools, diversity training. Because what Michael did wasn't just stand up for himself. He stood up for everyone who'd been diminished by a thoughtless word. And he did it with a calm that made the world listen. If this story showed you the power of responding to racism with education, subscribe to Michael Jackson Hidden Legacy. We uncover the moments that defined his courage, his grace, his refusal to let hate make him hateful. Hit like if Michael's response inspired you. Share with someone who needs to see that standing up doesn't mean tearing others down. One word, 20 million witnesses, and a TV host who learned the hard way that ignorance has consequences. Michael Jackson didn't just defend himself that night. He taught an entire nation about the power of dignity. If you want more untold stories of Michael's courage, subscribe to Michael Jackson Hidden Legacy. Because the battles he fought changed more than just music. They changed history.